The forest in Bwindi Impenetrable National Park was never truly quiet. Even in the early morning when the light was still soft and the air felt cool, something was always moving. Leaves shook gently, branches creaked, and distant animal calls echoed through the trees. But on this day something felt wrong. A young gorilla, barely a few months old, had wandered too far from safety. Its tiny hands struggled to hold onto the dry ground as it tried to move quickly, but it was clumsy, too small to understand danger. And danger was already watching. 5 lionesses had crossed into the forest edge. This was not their usual ground. They belonged to the open plains where hunting was easier. But hunger had pushed them deeper, step by step, following sounds, smells, and movement. Now they had found something unexpected. The baby gorilla. The air grew tense. The lionesses spread out without a sound. Their bodies stayed low, eyes fixed, every step slow and careful. They were not rushing. They knew this moment could decide everything. The baby stopped moving. It looked around, confused, sensing something it could not understand. Its small chest rose and fell faster. Dust lifted lightly under its hands as it tried to turn back toward the trees. But it was too late. From the shadows, the first lioness stepped forward. Her muscles were tight, ready. Another moved from the side, cutting off the path back. The rest formed a loose circle, closing in little by little. The baby slipped. It lost balance and fell onto the dry ground, kicking up a small cloud of dust. A soft cry escaped it, weak and lost in the open space. That sound changed everything. From deeper in the forest, heavy movement exploded through the trees. A full-grown male gorilla charged forward with force. His body was massive, his arms swinging as he pushed through branches without slowing down. Behind him, another gorilla followed, smaller but just as fast. They had heard the cry. The lionesses did not run. Instead they adjusted. Their formation tightened. 2 of them stayed focused on the baby, while the others turned toward the approaching gorillas. This was no longer a simple hunt. This was a fight. The ground trembled as the male gorilla reached the clearing. He let out a deep roar that cut through the air. It was loud, powerful, and filled with warning. For a second everything paused. Dust hung in the air. The baby struggled to stand again, its small body shaking. 1 lioness crouched lower, preparing to strike. Another stepped sideways, watching both the baby and the charging gorilla. No one backed down. The second gorilla moved closer to the baby, trying to reach it. But the distance was still too wide. The lionesses were faster on open ground. They knew it. One of them suddenly lunged. Her body shot forward, claws extended, aiming straight for the baby. But before she could reach it, the male gorilla slammed into her from the side. The impact sent dust flying as both crashed to the ground. The lioness twisted quickly, pulling away, her eyes locked on the threat now standing in front of her. The others reacted instantly. 2 lionesses rushed in, trying to create an opening. 1 circled behind, looking for a chance. The baby was still in the middle, small, helpless, and exposed. The fight had begun. And in that moment it became clear. This was not just a hunt anymore. Something unexpected was about to happen. The clearing turned into chaos in seconds. The male gorilla stood tall, his chest rising fast, his eyes locked on the lionesses. Dust covered his dark fur, but he did not step back. He hit the ground hard with both hands, sending a warning through the air. The baby tried to crawl away, but its small body could not move fast enough. It slipped again, letting out another weak cry. That sound pulled the second gorilla forward. She rushed in from the side, her focus only on the baby. She did not look at the lions. She did not slow down. Every step was fast and direct. But the lionesses saw her. 1 of them moved quickly, cutting her path. Another came from behind, trying to block her from reaching the baby. Their teamwork was smooth, like they had done this many times before. The gap closed again. The male gorilla stepped in. He charged straight at the closest lioness, forcing her to jump back. His arms swung wide, powerful enough to break branches, strong enough to crush bone. He was not hunting. He was protecting. For a moment, the lions hesitated. They were strong, fast, and used to working together. But this was different. Gorillas did not run like prey. They fought back. Still, hunger pushed them forward. 1 lioness lowered her body and moved slowly to the side. Her eyes stayed on the baby. She was waiting for the right second. Another lioness kept the male gorilla busy, stepping in and out, testing his reactions. The second gorilla made her move again. This time she reached the baby. She grabbed it quickly, pulling it close to her chest. The baby clung to her, its tiny arms wrapping around her fur. She turned, ready to run back toward the trees. But she did not get far. A lioness lunged from the side. Her paw struck the ground just inches away. The second gorilla jumped back, barely escaping. The baby cried out again, louder this time. The sound echoed. The male gorilla reacted instantly. He rushed forward with full force, pushing himself between the lioness and the female. His roar was louder now, deeper, filled with anger. The lioness stepped back, but only for a second. The others moved in again. They were not giving up. They spread out wider now, trying to surround both gorillas. One stayed behind, watching for any chance to grab the baby. Another kept circling, looking for a weak spot. The pressure was building. The second gorilla held the baby tight, her body tense. She looked toward the trees, but the distance felt too far now. The open ground had turned into a trap. The male gorilla stayed in front, ready to face anything that came closer. Then something shifted. A low sound came from the forest behind the lions. It was deep, heavy, slow. Not like a gorilla. Not like a lion. The lionesses paused. Their heads turned slightly, their ears picking up the sound. It was getting closer, step by step, breaking small branches as it moved. The gorillas noticed it too. For a brief moment, the fight stopped again. No one moved. The baby stayed hidden against the female, shaking but quiet now. The male gorilla stood still, watching, waiting. Even the lionesses seemed unsure. The sound grew louder. Whatever was coming, it was big. And it was almost there. The sound did not stop. It grew heavier, closer, like something large pushing through the forest without fear. Dry branches snapped under its weight. Leaves shook even before it came into view. The lionesses felt it first. Their bodies stiffened. Their eyes shifted away from the gorillas for the first time. Ears turned back. Tails slowed. This was not normal. The male gorilla stayed where he was, but his posture changed. He was still ready to fight, but now he was also listening. The female held the baby tighter, pulling it close to her chest, stepping back just a little. Then the trees parted. A massive elephant stepped into the clearing. She was alone. Her body was huge, covered in dust, her ears wide and still. Her steps were slow, but each one carried weight. The ground seemed to respond under her feet. She stopped just inside the open space. For a moment, no one moved. The lionesses lowered their bodies even more. They did not run, but they were no longer in control. This was not prey they could face. Even in a group, they knew the risk. The elephant lifted her trunk. A loud blast cut through the air. The sound was sharp and strong. It rolled across the clearing and into the trees beyond. Birds flew up from the branches. The silence broke in an instant. The baby gorilla flinched, pressing deeper into the female's chest. The male gorilla did not move, but his eyes shifted toward the elephant. He understood something had changed. This was no longer just his fight. The elephant took another step forward. Slow. Direct. She was not rushing. She was claiming space. The lionesses gave ground. Just a step at first. Then another. Their tight circle began to open. They were still watching, still thinking, but their focus was no longer only on the baby. One of them let out a low growl, but it sounded different now. Less confident. The elephant shook her head slightly, dust lifting around her. Another step. Closer. The lionesses pulled back again. Now the space between them and the gorillas was wider. The pressure that had been building started to break. The female gorilla saw the opening. She moved. Carefully, slowly, she stepped backward toward the trees, still holding the baby tight. Her eyes stayed on the lions, ready to react if they rushed again. The male gorilla stayed in front, not turning his back. The lionesses watched them. They were thinking. Hunger was still there. The baby was still within reach. But the elephant stood between them now, closer than before, her size impossible to ignore. Another short trumpet came. This time it was lower, like a warning. The message was clear. Do not come closer. Two of the lionesses stepped back further, moving toward the edge of the clearing. The others stayed, but their formation was broken. They were no longer hunting as one. The balance had changed. But it was not over. One lioness stayed low, her eyes still locked on the baby. She moved slowly along the side, trying to find a path around the elephant. Careful. Patient. She was not ready to give up. The male gorilla noticed. He shifted his position, blocking her view again. The female reached the trees. Her hand touched the rough bark. She began to climb, pulling the baby up with her. The small body clung tightly, silent now, holding on with everything it had. Safety was close. But not yet certain. The lioness on the side moved faster. She saw her last chance. And she took it. The moment she moved, everything snapped back into motion. The lioness burst forward from the side, fast and low, her body cutting through the dust like a shadow. Her eyes were fixed on one thing only. The baby. The female gorilla had just started to climb. One hand on the tree, the other holding the baby close. She was not fully off the ground yet. She was exposed. The lioness closed the distance in seconds. But the male gorilla was faster. He launched forward with full force, slamming into her path before she could reach the tree. The impact shook the ground. Dust rose again, thick and blinding. The lioness twisted, trying to avoid him, but his arm struck her side, pushing her off balance. She hit the ground hard, then rolled, jumping back up with a sharp snarl. The elephant reacted instantly. She charged 2 heavy steps forward, ears wide, trunk raised high. A loud trumpet exploded through the clearing, louder than before, full of warning and power. This time it was enough. The remaining lionesses pulled back together. Their movements were quicker now, less controlled. They had lost their chance. The one that attacked stepped back too, her body tense, her eyes still locked on the baby, but her ground was gone. The risk was too high. The elephant stood between them and the tree, her massive frame blocking any path forward. She stomped once, hard, as if drawing a line they could not cross. The lionesses hesitated. Then, slowly they gave up. One by one they turned away, slipping back toward the dry grass and thin trees at the edge. They did not run, but they did not stop either. Within seconds their shapes began to fade into the background. The hunt was over. The clearing fell quiet again, but the air still felt heavy. The male gorilla stood still, watching until the last lioness disappeared. His chest moved slowly now, but his eyes stayed sharp. Above him the female climbed higher. She reached a strong branch and pulled herself up fully. The baby stayed pressed against her, safe at last, its small body still shaking. The danger had passed. But the forest was not done yet. From deeper in the distance, a new sound began to rise. It was not an animal. It was something else. Something that did not belong there. And it was getting closer. The sound grew clearer with every second. It was not soft like footsteps or natural like animal calls. It was sharp, uneven, and carried through the trees in a way that did not belong in the forest. Voices. Human voices. The male gorilla heard it first. His head lifted slightly, eyes shifting toward the direction of the noise. His body tensed again, but this time it was different. This was not a fight he could face with strength. Above him, the female gorilla froze on the branch. She held the baby tighter, pressing it close as if trying to hide it within herself. The small one stayed quiet now, its earlier cries gone. The elephant turned her head slowly. Her ears moved, catching every sound. She lifted her trunk high, testing the air. The calm she had brought into the clearing began to fade. Even she knew this was something unpredictable. The voices came closer. There was laughter mixed in, and the sound of something hitting wood. Heavy steps followed, breaking dry twigs underfoot. It was careless movement, loud and unaware. Not hunters tracking prey. Not protectors moving with care. Just people entering a place that was not theirs. The forest reacted. Birds lifted again, this time in wider groups. Small animals disappeared into cover. Even the wind seemed to slow, as if waiting. The male gorilla made his choice. He turned toward the trees and let out a short, deep call. It was not loud like before, but it carried meaning. A signal. Time to leave. He moved quickly, climbing after the female. His strong arms pulled him up with ease. Within seconds he reached the higher branches, staying close to his family. The baby stayed hidden, pressed against the female, no longer visible from the ground. Below them the elephant remained. She stood in the center of the clearing, still and steady. Her presence filled the space as if she was holding it together for one last moment. The voices reached the edge of the trees. Shapes moved between the trunks. Faint, unclear but close enough to feel. The elephant shifted her weight, then slowly turned away. She stepped back into the forest, each movement calm, unhurried. She did not run. She did not panic. She simply left. And just like that, the clearing was empty. No lions. No gorillas. No elephant. Only dust settling back onto the dry ground. The forest closed in again, quiet and watchful, as if nothing had happened. But something had. For a brief moment, survival was not about strength alone. It was about timing, instinct, and the unexpected help that came when it was needed most. And deep in the trees, hidden from sight, a tiny life had been saved.